hand over now to Adrian to come and tell us about his experiences in Turkey.
Nice to meet you all this morning. I'm probably slightly different from some of the other content you're going to hear this morning because I was called in by Enterprise Europe Network and UKTI just to come along and be that quieter character and just tell it the way it is. So I will tell it the way it is with several anecdotes in terms of my experiences in Turkey, some of which you might find humorous, some of which might have validity in terms of things that you're planning yourselves. But I'll just tell it the way it is as a local lad and see what you get from it. When I first went to Istanbul, I certainly went on 3 business trips that I organised myself. And I ended up getting a hotel in an area of Istanbul that William might know called Bayezid. And I thought that was Istanbul, so I thought, okay, different part of the world from Manchester. To me it's just another big conurbation. It's big, not that special, but I'm here to do business. And it only transpires through some of the case studies I'm going to give you now that actually I didn't know Turkey at all at that stage. I was staying in the wrong place, not going to the right places, and I think the message in the whole of that is that inherent in everything that's being said this morning, it's all about knowing your market. And I've learned so much more in recent years than my early trekking around the country, trying to make the best of things on my own knowledge. My career has always been in the Northwest. I'm a director of a company in Stockport, in the Sins, called ACROBAT Consulting and Marketing. And I also work with the Centre for Enterprise at the Manchester Metropolitan University, who has a lot of activities associated with growing businesses and growing businesses in international programs. So you're going to tell very quickly that I wear quite a few different hats, but I think a little bit of that is about me as a person. I'm not all singing or dancing as an individual. I spent 30 years in marketing and funding consultancy in the main. But I was one of the original assessors with the National Lottery when that set up, and that's partially what got me into funding. I used to be chairman at the Chartered Institute of Marketing, but only for its specialist sectors for sports and leisure. And I think the biggest mark we've made in the UK is working for 15% of the pro football clubs. So how did I get into Turkey? It was actually an individual who was middle management at Stockport County Football Club, who was on a secondment for a year in a place called Kuşadası on the west coast of Turkey, who took me across there. And I remember saying to him at the time, I said, Steve, I'm not one of these people who likes to just keep coming back to the same places as you're doing on business ventures. I prefer to go looking at different places around the world. So this was 20 years ago, and you can see where I've ended up now. I certainly can't escape from the place, but I say that with a smile on my face. So that's what took me out there, and I started off very much with small-scale projects. We worked on a project which was saving a Turkish hotel that had every potential of going into receivership because the UK travel operator had just gone bump and it left the Turkish hotel with no high street presence. So we got involved with them, and we were very lucky to be shortlisted for an award by the Chartered Institute of Marketing called Marketing on a Shoestring. And we held that hotel to survive, and naturally, in some people's eyes, that starts to build a good reputation. On the back of that, we then moved into feasibility studies and tourism strategies for resorts in Turkey. I did a few feasibility studies in terms of export and import, of helping UK companies going to Turkey, but also Turkish companies coming here. So it was very much small scale. And that is me, I'm a small business locally, I wouldn't pretend to be anything other than that. But small scale, I think in the early days I tried to do everything myself and learned that that wasn't necessarily the right way of doing things. It was only through meeting people like we've got on the stage today I've learned that there's better ways of doing things. And we did have a few instances of struggling to be paid, contrary to what we've said. More of our problems were being paid were usually associated with English companies that were over in Turkey, I have to say, than the Turkish companies themselves. But that was an issue for us in the early days, and if we had the benefit of knowledge that we do have now through UKTI and Enterprise Europe Network, then we'd have been in far better shape. I launched FC Sports Marketing, and the reason I launched FC Sports Marketing was I thought rather than muddy the water, I just wanted to have a legal status, a legal enterprise that was dedicated to England, Turkey, Turkey, England, rather than get mixed in with other things that I'm involved with. I think there's 3 recommendations that I'd make, with a slight grin on my face. The The three recommendations to the pillars to success that I actually came across were probably in the following order. One is you have to fly with Turkish Airlines. Two is you have to meet Enterprise Europe Network and UKTI. And three is you need to marry a well-connected Turkish girl. Because those things have all stood me in good stead. And I still comically refer to my wedding day in Stockport when my attempts at the Turkish language led me to say "çok teşekkür ederim Turk aviolari," because without Turkish Airlines and meeting my wife on the plane in Turkish Airlines, perhaps some of these other things might not have unfolded the way they have. So it's a bit of a twee story, but all three things legitimately have helped me in business personally. It's a country which is absolutely dominated, 98%, 99% by the Islamic faith, Muslim faith. People who don't understand that culture and understand that faith, that can sometimes raise questions. I have to say I've learned an immense amount through my 20 years about the Muslim faith. Lots of things I learned led to me actually writing this book, B&B. First B was a Turkish footballer, which was a lot of my activity that I got involved with. The second B is my wife. But lots of things I as a simple local lad from Stockport, never expected to experience in life. I discovered these things through trying to trade in that country. Serenay has referred to commonality in terms of English language being spoken in business circles, but I spent 2 years at night school in Manchester College learning Turkish language. And I have to say it's still pidgin Turkish, but it definitely breaks the ice when I'm going to meetings, and you can genuinely tell from the body language that people appreciate that you're trying to make a bit of an effort. I commonly find now that senior managers, professors at universities, not only speak English, but they've possibly undertaken master's degrees, MBAs in the UK or in America. That's a common characteristic I'm seeing at high levels. And I, at the moment, am dealing with an awful lot of big corporates and doing presentations to them in Turkey. Never expect, a bit like if you're going to countries like China, never expect a quick win. Never expect to score an early goal. It is a slow burn process. It might sound theoretical, but it's quite true. You might not even get into the detail of business at that first meeting. There's a lot of emphasis that should be put on learning about the individual, trying to build trust, meeting their family, find out what makes them tick. The Turks have got a reputation for being absolutely fantastic at bartering, and it's true. I mean, there's the regular examples of the Turkish marketplace, Turkish markets, bartering, negotiating. It's the same in business circles over there. And you need to know that up front, because I have become more and more frustrated recently, with certainly when I'm taking certain partners across to Turkey, and you tell them this, that they go in with this fixed perception that it's going to be this price, or it's going to be this product or service, and it's going to be inflexible. My dealings in Turkey invariably involve negotiation and discussion, so it's worth having that sort of thought process in terms of what you take as your initial proposition before deciding upon the ultimate end game. One example which I had personally, which was, I had trouble with banking. I banked obviously for a number of years in the UK, and I wanted to know which bank should I set up for FC Sports Marketing. I thought I'd just go with the UK bank. Now, because I wanted to have 2 Turkish people on the board of directors, you would think it wasn't really that complicated in the modern day era. But after lots of faffing around by my accountant and various other banks, and it was taking so much time because of money laundering procedures, for some peculiar reason it took longer and longer to decide, can we open an account or can we not? I just took it in my own hands, put it in Google, typed Turkish bank, and funnily enough, a bank came up called Turkish Bank in England. So suddenly I opened an account with Turkish Bank in England, which had 6 branches, and they've been phenomenal for us. And that's all we deal in, is English companies selling to Turkey, Turkish companies selling to England. I'm not suggesting you have to go to a Turkish bank, but for me it's worked. Apart from other things, don't be too corporate. Now that's a strange thing. I would say to people, from my personal experience, don't be too corporate, be yourself. Rightly or wrongly, a number of people I met in Turkey had this perception that we were all cold people, that we wore bowler hats, we always wear pinstripe suits, and there's nothing further from the truth. And I, very early on a number of occasions, got positive feedback from people saying, you're human, you're warm, you're like one of us, and that goes down well. And I think that's something that stands us in stead, certainly in terms of the northwest of England, because we have got a characteristic of being very warm as northerners. And in the same way in Turkey, Selma and Julia will tell you that there are regional differences, and there are differences in terms of warmth of the approach of different regions. And I think in the northwest, already I'm getting the message out there that we're a lot warmer up here than Southerners, so that's something that carries some weight. I obviously spoke to my wife in the early days about what should I do and what should I not do in terms of particularly meeting these boards of directors of big corporates. Her advice to me was don't be yourself. So I said, thank you, darling. So what do you mean by that? She said, you've got a problem in life. You're too warm, you're too touchy-feely, and I probably am. I tend to sort of tap people on the shoulder, as David was alluding to, or put my arm around people. And a lot of the Turkish culture, when you get to know the people, is you'll kiss the men or the women either side of the face as the welcome. You shouldn't necessarily kiss the people straight away when you met them. It is a handshake. But I kept putting a slide up, totally contrary to the wise advice of my family, because I thought it would work for me, and it did. Because once I've explained to them, I've got a Turkish wife, I've got a son called Kaya, I've got a daughter called Erin, both of which Turkish names as well. They immediately start referring to me as Anishta, so that means brother-in-law, because I'm married into their culture. And they're thinking, oh, actually, I'm one of theirs. Now, I know this is very twee, but I think inherent, the underlying message in a lot of this is that the more you can do to appear that you're on the same wavelength as them, we're not all going to rush out and marry English men or sorry, Turkish men or Turkish women, but the more you can do in terms of preparation, it stood me in good stead. I personally took advantage of the Passport to Export programme. That allowed me to access some of the funding, which I thought was a great idea as a small business and start-up getting into that country. One of the things it helped me do was, as I said to my two Turkish directors at the time, I said, look, come on, we've got to get off our backsides and we've got to start making a mark in this country, but nobody's heard of us. So I came up with this idea that, right, what we're going to do is we're going to hold an international conference. So last year we put on an international football conference in Istanbul. We called it Hadi Football-Olalım, which means let's be football friends. I did lots of research, and I went to the neighbouring educational establishments who were good at it. We won a significant contract with one of the biggest football clubs in the world, as well as working with Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, Besiktas. I had yet another smile on my face, because on the UKTI website there's a big news story covering half of the homepage of the website about the Queen with her image, and the other half was a picture of FC Sports Marketing. So I thought, we've arrived in life when we're getting this sort of profile publicity. I've already referred to language, and language is important, and working with Enterprise Europe Network, but also UKTI, they facilitated a grant for me in the early stages to translate into business Turkish my marketing materials and the website, which went down a storm. It's not without the odd challenge. I've already had to change certain things. We've got a new board of directors now in Turkey. I've built new partnerships out there with new employees, both UK-based and Turkish ones. I also used the profiling tool that David referred to in terms of Enterprise Europe Network, and that's brought some prospects into us. I do think it is important to have some sort of local presence on the ground, whether it be Turkish people or whether it be people who are based in Turkey. In a lot of marketplaces that can carry weight. But as far as I'm concerned, on this brief introduction to you, the future is looking optimistic at the moment, and we're certainly looking forward to more and more continuing exciting times in Turkey. So I will hover around for as long as people want, but thank you for hearing my brief story this morning.
Thank you, Adrian. That's great. And really, coming back to a couple of things I said about it's about people who believe that they can. Here's a guy that believed that he could, and he's gone out and done it. We often get talking about multinational. This is a local, small company, not producing widgets, not producing goods, with a service, something slightly out of the ordinary. Fantastic how well you've done that. Well done, Adrian.